Hey, welcome back to the I Don't Know But podcast. I am your host, Imani, and I am so happy you are joining me tonight. I just came back from a nice, restful weekend getaway, and I needed it, I really did. On tonight's episode, we are going to be talking about tracking your spending, your expenses. If you're someone like me who likes to sometimes go away, for short little weekend getaways, it's very, very important to be able to track your spending. But just in general, it's important to track your spending because what happens is that money adds up. Raise your hand if you're the type of person where when you go out, let's just say it's a Saturday morning, you just want to get out the house, you go out, you go from here to there, and you just buy. There was no budget before you left the door. Raise your hand. I know I can't see you, but you can see yourself. I have been guilty, and probably am still guilty, of doing that. However, I always set a mental budget of what I can afford to spend when I leave the house. Now, sometimes when I have my daughter with me, I'm guaranteed to overspend. But when I'm by myself, I know exactly, around about what amount of money I want to spend. But today we're going to talk about that. So for the next week, if you can, I want you to write down everything you spend money on, no matter how small. If a week is too long and you're busy and, can't really take the time out to write everything down, start with a day or two and just write down everything that you spend your money on. It's something that we were never conditioned to do. Advancing to financial freedom and financial independence really takes a disciplined mindset. And everything that I'm going to teach you is going to take discipline. It's going to take you having to do some actionable steps to get to where you want to get financially. It's not hard. It's not difficult. But it is difficult if you do not want to take the time out to do a few things. One of those things is writing down how much you spend. Now, let's look at a typical day. Let's look at a typical post-COVID work day. If you're home, most likely, if you work remote from home, most likely you're not spending a whole lot of money, right? Unless you are the type of person who has to shop online. Now, I know a lot of people out there that love to shop online because it's convenient. They love to call a DoorDasher because they don't want to get out and go pick up some food. It's convenient. I know some people who call Ubers because they don't want to drive or they don't have a vehicle. So they call Ubers to go from place to place. I know some people who have to get that Amazon deal or QVC, HSN, Shop NBC, Shein, Temu's a big one, DHgate. There's so many different places now. I know Nike is a big one for me. They'll send me push notifications on 20%, 25% off, your purchase deals. And then when you go in, they're having sales. So it's the sale plus the extra 20% off. How can you beat that? So sometimes you jump on those things. But, Instacart, if you're the type of person who doesn't like to go out to grocery shop. I love going out to grocery shop because one, I feel like on Instacart, the prices for the same things in the store are increasing. I know they have to make their money, but it's a convenience for people who don't want to leave the home. But let's just say you are that person who doesn't leave the home and you call a DoorDash. And in that day, you spent $27 on your food with, with $5 tip. That's $32 in that one day. And then let's say you spent, $100 on just, purchasing something off of Shein. You're getting ready for an event. That's $132 in one day. Now, most likely if you go to the mall or you go to a store, you might actually be saving purchasing from a Shein or an Amazon. They tend to have discount items. But that DoorDash, for $32, you can go to Wingstop and get for $10 or $15. you're saving half. But once you start writing down your expenses, you'll be able to really see what areas you're struggling in. Is it the online shopping? Is it once you go to a store, you don't have any control, so maybe you need to budget before you leave the house. Once you write down your spending habits, I want you to divide your expenses or your spending into categories like food, utilities, entertainment, clothing, miscellaneous if something comes up. And this probably will work better either on a weekly or monthly type of basis. But like I said, if you don't have the time, it really is good to just see what it is you're spending your money on each day. Divide those into categories. Now, food, in most cases, I think that's where most people overspend. And I know I've gotten a lot better with it, but that was my area, the area that I could have definitely or have worked on. And we discussed that a little in the last episode. Food at the stores are becoming pricey, but in most cases, it's still less expensive to, purchase from a grocery store. So once you're able to, divide those spendings into categories, you can actually see where do you need to bring it back in at. And then you can also see, honestly, what gives you the most joy. Because a lot of times that's where our money goes. Our money goes into what gives us the most joy. Now, of course, a roof over our head, majority of our money's going there. But I guarantee you most likely have the most joy underneath your house, underneath your roof. You don't want to be out on the street. So yeah, you're going to put some extra money into that. I can tell you that in my household, between myself and my son, the various apps that we have Netflix, we have Hulu, we have Amazon, we have Max, Paramount, Peacock, Disney. And because I am a football fanatic, I have the NFL network on my phone. I think that was about 8 or 9 apps that we're paying for monthly for entertainment. Now, is that something that I can say, you know what? A few of these apps probably have the same content on it. So, maybe I can remove something from my budget. Now, for me, because I'm more of a homebody, it's worth it to have for me. Now, there's Fire Stick, and then you have, the different things that you can put on your Fire Stick. But in my case, the Fire Stick is not the most reliable when I want to watch something. So I put a little more money into my entertainment than most people probably would because I don't go out a lot. So I want to be comfortable and I want to be able to watch what it is I want to watch. That's something that I budget. However, I will be taking a look at it because if I'm only watching one show on an app, does it really make sense to pay, $9.99, $12.99 a month for one show that comes out during, one season of the year, and then, you're not watching that show anymore. So the app could be useless. And then there's some apps that really have some great shows. Like Max has some of the best old school shows on there. Could I see myself losing that? No. That's a great app for me. Disney Plus, there's a lot of, great movies, Black Panther, forgot the names of those movies, but there's a lot of movies on Disney Plus that I find enjoyable. I'll most likely keep that. Prime is not going nowhere because Prime offers the benefit of not only, your music, your television, but free shipping and Prime, discounts and things of that nature. I'm holding on to that, not letting that go. Hulu is under my T-Mobile. Well, it's no longer T-Mobile. It's under my Sprint. So they pay for it. I'm keeping that. Peacock, Paramount Plus, Apple TV, like those things I can let go of. There's only maybe one show that I watched on Apple TV. I can let go of that. This is how I want you guys to start thinking. What is it that I'm paying for monthly, weekly, or however you're paying for it, whether it's Starbucks coffee, and I get it, Starbucks is a luxury drink, but do you really have to have Starbucks? Can you go to 7-Eleven? Can you go to Wawa? If you guys have Wawa, that's my favorite store on this earth. Can you go to Dunkin' Donuts? Can you get a Keurig and make your coffee at home? Because we know those Starbucks prices continue to go up. So if you're paying $6 for a cup of coffee, let's go back to the Folgers and the Maxwell House. Let's save on that. And if you do have a coffee addiction or habit and you have to have it, like some people I know, they can't get their morning started without their cup of coffee. That's $6 per day times 7, $42 per week times 4, like $168 a month. How can we reduce our spending? What is logical for us? What areas can we work on? This is the mindset that I want you to get into. I want you to get into the mindset of, it's not necessarily a budgeting mindset, but it's a money management mindset. Let's stop being so careless with our money. Because let's face it, when you're careless with your money and you don't know where your money is going and it's just slipping through your fingers as fast as you get it, what does that do? That makes you unhappy. And when you're unhappy financially, you are unhappy in other areas of your life. It really does causes unhappiness in other areas of your life because you become anxious, you become irritated because you're not able to do some of the things that you want to do, because you're not able to provide the way you want to be able to provide. Your mind is actually it's like all over the place, so you can't focus on your relationships and your goals. It's hard to focus on goals when you're focusing on how you're going to pay your bills. So once you change your mindset and realize that, you can get this thing together. You can. One step at a time. Like I talked, in the last episode, baby steps, teenage steps. Does not have to be that you cut everything off. You do not have to cut everything off. But what's really important to you? Let's start with what can you live with and what can you not live without? What are those things that make you happy? And then what are those things that, I may need to sacrifice this so that I can gain happiness in this area? What are those things? Once we take a look at that, that's when, we'll start getting into that mindset and it'll become second nature to us. So after you've written down everything that you've spent on for a week, if you can do a month, that's even better. And, maybe do the last month, which might be a little difficult, especially if you're a cash-handed person. You may not remember what you spent cash on. But back in my day, we had check registries. We didn't have the devices and the online apps. I think Excel may have just been coming out. But we didn't have those things to track our spending and expenses the way you have them now. It's just a lot easier now. But we had to do check registries where you deposited your check from work into your bank account, and as you wrote each check, you subtracted that from your registry, because really that was the only way that you could see it in real time. There was no online banking where you logged into a computer and you can see, okay, I made $1,500 this week and I used my my debit card or my Apple Pay and tapped the screen, and spent $6 on coffee, and, I bought a Snickers bar for $1.50 and a sandwich from Jersey Mike's for $12. You had to write that down by hand. Now you can go on your app, log in, and you can see it out in real time. So there's a lot of habits that we had to do in the older age group that the younger generation really doesn't. But what it seems like to me is a lot of the younger generation, as easy as things can come, they're making a lot of bad financial and responsibility choices. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some older people out there who really are irresponsible with money. And a lot of it is because they have the mindset of they don't know if they're going to die tomorrow. Why hold on to money? There's a very thin line between a scarcity mindset and overspending. What do I mean by that? The scarcity mindset says, I'm not so sure that if I let go of this money that I'll receive it back. So let me hold on to it, right? Now, we don't want to be there. And a lot of us are there because of our childhoods, because mommy and daddy weren't able to get us some of the things we wanted as children. So it's like, okay, I don't know. I don't know what kind of financial situation that I'm going to be in, so let me hold on to it. But then you have the overspenders that say, as much as money flows out, money flows in. There's a thin line between that because that is true. When you give, it comes back. However, sometimes you can overgive to the point or overspend to the point where even if it comes back, you're in a bad financial situation. So you're always trying to cover and cover and cover. And it's just uncomfortable. And what is our goal in this life? Our goal in this life is to try to be as comfortable as possible. But it really does start with the mindset. So no, I do not want you to have a lack mentality, scarcity mentality, where you're hoarding your money because you're afraid you're never going to see any more. Because there is an energy that comes with that. There's an energy that comes with holding on too tight. It almost keeps money from flowing to you freely. And there's an energy of overspending that almost keeps you from really seeing an abundance. Because how do you see an abundance if you're always letting it go? So there's that, like I said, there's that thin line. You have to fit right in that thin line between having, I call it a thrifty type of mindset, and a thank God that I have it and can spend it if something comes up or if I want to do something. It's really a thin line. But I want to get you to that thin line. But in order for you to get to that thin line, you have to change your mindset. And there's a few things that you have to do to get there. And I'm going to teach you within every episode those little things. And by the time it ends, not to say that the podcast is going to end, but by the time I get you to a place where we've talked about pretty much everything that we can cover as far as, budgeting, your revenue, your income, your expenses, savings, investing, all of those things, you should be complete. You should have a great basis, a great foundation to become financially free. Does financial freedom mean you're a millionaire? No, because I know millionaires that are struggling financially because they don't know how not to spend all that money. They just want to spend. So they end up going bankrupt. You have some people who are millionaires who, if you saw how they live, you would never think they did. Or who've lost a lot of their money over years because they didn't know how to save or invest. And their careers stopped, for whatever reason. And now the money is not coming in the way it was, but they still have the expenses of when they were millionaires. But then you have some people who might be making, I don't know, $60,000, $75,000 a year and can move about freely because they made sound financial choices. They learned how to spend within their means. They learned how to invest and save and let their money work for them. You would think that they were the ones that were the millionaires, and the millionaires were the ones that were, lower income class or middle class. Listen, the way inflation has gone up so much, you can probably make $150,000 a year and still be considered a low to middle class because everything is so expensive and pricey now. It's almost like in these major cities, I'm in New York, you have to make $250,000 a year to live comfortably, or have a household that makes $250,000 a year to live comfortably. Where before the pandemic, it was okay to be, $80,000, $90,000. You was comfortable, you was good. Now we have to be more mindful of our spending because, let's face it, salaries are not increasing the way inflation is. Those cost of living raises, those 3%, 2% cost of living raises that these companies are giving their employees are not making a dent into anything of what a carton of eggs or a gallon of milk costs in comparison to what it did 4 years ago. The wiser you are with your spending, with how you let that money flow out of your hands. Back in the day, they used to say that money burns holes in pockets. People really just could not. There are some people who cannot let money sit. They just can't do it. It's almost like they will go crazy if that money sits in a savings account. They go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's like, I have to spend it. What can I use this money for? And that could be because grandma and grandpa told them, I'll spend my money because I can't take it with me when I die, when I go. So it's something that was embedded in them in their young age. A lot of our issues, whether it's money, whether it's heart things or mental things or whatever, stem from when we were young. It's learned behavior. Take a really good look at your parents and ask yourself, am I the way I am with my finances because of something that happened to me when I was young? And I can say, me personally, yes, I am the way I am because my grandfather, for some of my cousins, handed that money out to them. But for Imani, he said, no, you know what? I need some biscuits of making. I need my bathroom cleaned. I need you to hang the clothes out on the line. I need you to make the bed up. Sweep the kitchen. It didn't come easy for me. He didn't say, here's $20. $20 is a big amount of money back in the day. Imani had to work for $20, but I could do a lot with $20. But I had to work for it. I remember when bingo was a big thing. Bingo probably still a big thing. I don't even know. Maybe I should look into a bingo out here. But bingo was a big thing in South Carolina, and he would always take me to bingo. And because I didn't have money, he would say, I'll pay for the card, right? So if I wanted 2 cards, I think it was like $5 for 2, maybe $2.50 a card. But if I won anything, guess who had to give that $5 back? So he was teaching me good money habits as a kid. If somebody fronts you something and you earn from it, give back. Nothing is just going to come to you. So that helped me to say, okay, when I get a loan or a credit card, now that, and like I told you guys in the pre-episode, messing up my credit so bad in college has taught me if somebody loans you something, Imani, pay it back. But now I've gotten to the place where I pay back before interest. That's smart spending because we're conditioned to use our credit cards for whatever reason, various points, earning money on it, travel, air flight stays, hotel stays. But what I know is if I spend $100, I want to pay back $100. I don't want to pay back $115. Or if I paid late $135 for these fees. So I pay my money back before the interest hits it. But that's learned behavior, and it does take time to get there. But we're starting here. We're starting with tracking your spending. Once you track it, divide it into categories, and then seriously analyze it and take a look and say, where can I make it better? What can I fix? What can I stop spending so much money on? What areas can I reduce? There's reductions and, maybe less fees and things of that nature. How can I be more responsible with my money? Let's pay our bills on time. Let's do those type of things so that we can have more money in our pockets, because that interest that we're paying and those fees that we're paying could be going towards something else. It takes time. You can get there. I promise you can get there. You will get there if you apply yourself. If you listen to what I say and you apply yourself, you will get there. If you discipline that mind, you will get there. If you make better choices, you will get there. If you stop being irresponsible with your money, you will get there. If you realize that there is most likely going to be a tomorrow and another opportunity to do something, remember, this is that microwavable society. Everybody wants it now. But as you work towards this and you build up to it daily, you'll get there. You don't have to have it right now. Everything that's good, and I'm learning this, takes time, okay? We are going to build some strong financial futures. That is the goal here on the I Don't Know But podcast, to build some strong financial futures. We're going to make some smart money moves. We're building our wealth. We're building our financial independence. This is the BFF Gang. We're building financial futures here. Stay positive. Stay encouraged. Do not try to overwhelm yourself. If it becomes too overwhelming, stop. Take a look back. Stop. Just stop. I promise you. Just stop for a second. Be honest with yourself. Say, this is a little overwhelming. I'll look at this a little later. But always just try to make sure you go back to it and look at it and write it down. I promise you, you write your spending down, you will be shocked at what you spent. If you're the type of person that doesn't spend anything, then guess what? You're making some choices where if you were investing that money, you might be in a better state. So if you're not a big spender and you just have a lot of savings just sitting in an account, maybe you might want to invest. That's a topic for another day, but there's still areas that we can improve in our lives. If you have it all together, then I promise you this may not be the podcast for you, because that just means you have it all together. But if you don't, stay tuned. Keep listening. We're going to get that. We're going to get there. You're going to be able to reach your goal. Hopefully you would have written your goals out from the first episode. Now we want you to track your spending. Baby steps. Remember, guys, baby steps. And stay encouraged. I'm here to lift you up. I'm here to motivate you. We have a goal. We have a goal to reach. And we're going to reach that goal. We are going to reach the goal. I want you to say to yourself, say out loud, I am going to reach my goals. I will be financially free. I will be able to go where I want to go when I want to go. I will be able to stay in my bed and not do anything and look out the window when I want to stay in my bed and look out the window. I will be able to volunteer my time and give back to others and communities because I'm not so hard about where the money's coming from next. I will be able to give financially to other people who may not have. These are some of the goals. Set your goals and work toward them. I appreciate all of you, and I thank you for tuning in to the I Don't Know But podcast. We are streaming on every podcast station out there, as well as YouTube. And we also have Instagram. My Instagram and TikTok and Facebook are Business Wonders Consulting, Business Wonders Co. under TikTok. You can follow me there, or you can just keep coming here. I also have a Patreon as well. I appreciate all of you, and I thank you for listening. And I will talk to you on the next one. Love you guys.